Hello YouTube and welcome back to Assetto Corsa. Today we're back at the Nürburgring Nordschleife, this time on the Touristenfahrten, and we are going to be taking out the Lancia Fulvia 1.6 HF from 1967 out for a spin. This car only came out, I believe, less than a week ago. I think it's only been a few days. I saw it crop up on Race Department and it piqued my interest. I know I said I might do the Nissan Primera, but that one looks like it's not fully ready. They're going to be updating the tyre model fairly soon, so I think it's fair to wait for that to actually be updated before I actually make a test and make my judgment on it. So instead, I'm taking this car out for a spin. So this car was actually, it's a variant of the Lancia Fulvia. It was built in, or the Lancia Fulvia itself was built between 1963 and 1976. Now, it's quite an important car in motorsport, especially rally. This car used to be pitted against the Minis. And it was against the Minis, and I believe it won the World Rally Championship in 1972, or I think back then it was probably called the International Rally Championship or something, something like that. And a rally variant of this car won that championship. It's a 1.6 litre V4 engine, but the V4 engine itself is a little bit interesting because when you think V engines, you think you know, a classic V shape. This engine had the narrowest V you could possibly get, so it's not, in many ways it's not really a V engine. It's only a 13-degree V, and you're going to notice a lot of spinning, especially on this first lap, and I'll talk a bit about that as well in a bit. But it's this engine that really interested me. You know, being an engineer, it just I like looking at these things. 1.6 litre, but it only has a 13-degree V, which means that the actual engine itself had a single cylinder head. So instead of having two cylinder heads, one for each part of the V, they managed to get it under one. And it's a dual overhead cam, but it worked in such a way that one of the cams, or one camshaft was all about the intake and everything, and the other camshaft was designed all for exhaust and everything. So interesting engine design, but that's something that I know that Lancia did. You know, they used to play around with these designs, and they used to do all these crazy things and try things out, and sometimes they worked and sometimes they didn't. That's just what Lancia is. You know, sometimes they made absolutely wonderful, fantastic cars, and sometimes their cars were, well, just pieces of rubbish, just absolute junk. So you know, that's Lancia. This car, thankfully, is one of those good cars. It's got a 5-speed manual gearbox, and it produces this V4 engine, this tiny little V4 engine, produces 165 bhp in this trim at around 7,000 rpm, and 169 newton meters of torque at 4,500 rpm. So it's, again, it is up in the higher rev ranges. Different engines obviously produce different, they had different bands, so you got the most power at far lower ranges. We're talking maybe at the 3,500-4,000 rpm. That's where you were getting on the normal engines, but on this one you get it nice and high. And that means 0 to 60 is 7.3 seconds. Now the normal version of this car, with this you know, this engine and this era, the 1.6 litre V4s, I think the normal car was 10 seconds. So this race version is up a good 2.7 seconds on that, which is quite an increase. So all that power and that extra torque and the higher rev range, it has helped it. It's definitely helped it. Some mod info. The mod info, it's 94 meg on the download, so it's not a huge download, but it's not exactly the smallest of downloads. And when you unzip it, it comes out to be about 227 to 230 meg, somewhere around there. I can't remember exactly what it was because I didn't check it and I didn't write it down. So yeah, but it's around that figure. It's made by Rodrigo Sanchez Paz, Matias Rivas, and I believe this name is Jeroen van Ipperen. Otherwise, I think he's known as Amplified NL. So you can guess what he did. He did the sounds, Amplified. So he did the sounds. They've worked really, really hard on this mod. There's 4 levels of detail already on this, which means that this would be really good for multiplayer racing, which is what it's sort of designed to do. It's got fully detailed lighting, animations, it's got custom cameras, and as standard it comes with 13 liveries. Plus it has custom dirt and damage textures as well. So they've really, really put a lot of effort into making sure that this mod is one of those that really does go to the top in many ways. Observations about this car. I'm going to start with the one thing that I really didn't like at the start, is that if you look at the screen right now, you can see my seat is very, very back. Now you can obviously just put this forward in Assetto Corsa, there's no real problem in doing that, but I thought I'd just point out that this is very, very back to start with. Now, before I move on to the rest of the observations, I want to talk about how having a seat that far back and the field of view, all, you know, the way it is and everything, how that affects your driving. I just want to talk a little bit about that, because you're going to notice I'm going to be spinning quite a bit here. I'm going to be going over the bumps far more than I want to, and so on and so forth. And the reason for that, not just because I'm not used to the car. That's partly the reason, because you know, first lap, not tried it, I'm not really used to it. The other reason is that my sense of perception is all off when it's like this. So when you have it that far back, your sense of speed, your sense of depth, your sense of how close you are to the edge of the track, how close you are to a corner, it all becomes skewed. It all becomes very, very skewed, and that's exactly what's happened here. So it's nothing major, because like I said, we can just go and fix it. There's no real issues. We can just go ahead and push the seat forward, and I will do that in the second lap. However, I just thought I'd point that out and point out what it does, how that actually affects how we drive. So I do recommend doing that. Now, the reason I left it back is because I want to just point out one thing, on one observation. Have a look at the not the steering wheel, next to the steering wheel on the left hand side, the key, and have a look at the keychain. The keychain moves. Can you guys see that? As we're going around the corner, it moves. It's like a little G meter, and I think that's just so cool. I think that having that is absolutely wonderfully cool. So well done there, massive well done there to them. What else is there to really talk about before I get on to other observations? Yeah, the other thing that you'll be able to see here, and you won't be able to see on the second lap, is the gear stick. Now, I know it's fully animated and everything, but I don't think it's changing gear correctly. I don't know about you guys, but I don't think that gear stick is changing gear correctly. So, yeah, that's the other downside I had about this particular car. I think the gear stick needs to work better. Apart from that, there isn't much in the way of talking about any downsides of the car. It's designed to compete with the Alfa Romeo GTA. Now, I love the Alfa Romeo GTA. It's so much fun to drive. This one, I'll admit, as I spin and crash, this one is not as fun to drive as the GTA, but that's probably because I initially thought this was a rear-wheel drive, so I tried to drive it as if it was a rear-wheel drive, and that's not good. Trying to drive a front-wheel drive like it's a rear-wheel drive is just absolutely a bad idea, a really bad idea. So don't do that. It is a front-wheel drive, which means that it's going to have massive amounts of understeer, and that is one thing that was catching me out. I did realize a couple of minutes in driving, hang on a minute, this isn't driving like a rear-wheel drive. Maybe I've just got this wrong. Maybe it is a front-wheel drive. And then as I started going around the corners, I still wanted to drive it like a rear-wheel drive, because I still wanted the back to kick out. And I did get the back to kick out quite a few times, especially on this next lap. So we're coming up to the end of this lap. I'm just going to now sort of fast forward ahead to the next part where I'll be driving much closer and hopefully much better as well. So let's get it going to that bit there. There we go. Right, okay, we're good. Now I can talk about the rest of the observations now that I'm driving it as it's supposed to be. The modeling is fantastic and the texturing is one of the highest quality textures I have ever seen. Reflection, I mean, if you just look on the right hand side, you can just see a bit of the Fulvia sign, and you would be able to see it on the previous lap as well. Just look at the texturing and the reflectivity on just that. And then you've got the wood panel, and then look at the little glass covers on each one of the dials. It looks so amazing, and the detail as well, the bump mapping that you've got on the dashboard, and you've got the chrome on the wipers, and you've got the chrome on the steering, just behind the steering wheel. It looks like on the indicator stalk you've got the chrome there. It just looks so top class. It just looks top class, that's what it is. And it just feels like an old car, but it feels like an incredibly detailed old car, where these people, you know, the modders, I think they must own Fulvias. One of them must have a Fulvia, or one of them must have a friend that has a Fulvia, because it just looks so nice. There's no way you could have just got that from just pictures. It just can't be just from pictures online. You must have had to really look at a Fulvia and really take a good look at a Fulvia. Sounds are all authentic, and there's loads and loads of different sounds, which sounds great. They've got the different exterior and interior sounds, and there's lots of these little bumps and rattles and squeaks and all those kind of things, especially on the brakes. You can just hear those squeaks. It makes it sound like an old brakes, old steel brakes. And it also reminds me of Dirt Rally, because the first time I drove a car in Dirt Rally, it was that Mini. It was a Mini Cooper, and the car that it was against was this Lancia Fulvia. And I remember how much the brakes squealed in there. And this just reminds me a bit of that, but this sounds far more authentic and far more real. The brake squeal just sounds far more real. So it's really well done. Physics themselves, they're accurate enough. You know, I could tell within a couple of minutes this was a full front-wheel drive car, and it had the engine at the front. It didn't stop me from getting the tail to kick out, like I said, and you'll see me trying to get the tail to kick out here. It does mean that because it is a front-wheel drive car, it's heavy at the front. When you do let off the accelerator, the lift-off oversteer on this car was so nice. I don't know whether I'd do it at the top of this hill. Maybe a little bit. It's just a little bit. There are points around the track you'll see where I will be getting the tail to kick out, and I'll get the tail I'll do my best to get this car sideways, basically. And sometimes it ends well, sometimes it doesn't end. Wow, getting all my words mixed up here. There. Let's try that again. Sometimes it'll end well, and sometimes it won't end so well. So you'll see that. The brakes are really quite strong, and they can be pushed more than I did most of the time. I'll be honest, when I'm driving in these videos, I tend to be more conservative than I should be. Maybe I should drive a bit more, a bit rough, a bit more towards the limit. But then I feel like I need more practice to really understand the limit of these cars, and I don't want to be just crashing constantly in this, even though I did crash quite a few times. But you can see this lap with the seat position in the correct place, I'm driving a lot better because I've got a much better sense of perception. What else is there? The lift-off oversteer I told you about, but that means that similarly, with that massive lift-off oversteer, you've also got some pretty strong power understeer. So you can see it there. The moment I go around the corner, I don't have to put my foot down on the throttle much at all, and the car just pushes towards the outside. It'll just constantly push towards the outside. This car is really bad for power understeer. But it's something you have to work around. I mean, it's a front-wheel drive car. All front-wheel drive cars at speed have issues with power understeer. So it's something you do have to be aware of. The only difference is that this car has some pretty nice lift-off oversteer, which, if you do this right, you can get that lift off oversteer to counter the power understeer that you're going to get. So if you turn it into a corner, you can get it the back end sliding out in the corner. Then you can put your foot down, and as the car pushes out, it'll just naturally straighten the car up, as opposed to get the car really close to the wall. So that's something that you can do. I think that's something I recommend you guys to do, is try and do it like that, because this car really feels alive when you swing it into a corner and the back end just kicks out. That's where this car feels like it's in its element, it's doing what it needs to do, it's going as fast as it can go. So that's something that I think everyone should be trying out. And I don't think there's much more to say about this car. I'm going to say that it's a fantastic car. It's really well made. It's not my favorite car, I'll be honest, but just looking at the mod and the detail and the effort that's been put into this mod, with the sounds and the textures and the physics and the modeling, and it's just all there, it's all perfect. And I have to say that, just barring the gear stick and maybe the fact that the seat position is very far back at the beginning, this mod is absolutely perfect. I'm going to give it a 9.9 out of 10. It's a 9.9 out of 10. Just the gear stick to fix, and I would be absolutely happy with this. It's well worth a download. The fact that they've worked on all those level of detail models to make sure that this works on multiplayer, the fact that they've meticulously tested this car for tires, they've basically tested it on everything they possibly can to make sure that this car can compete with the Alfa Romeo GTA, and it will provide that massive fun factor. So they've done really amazingly well there. Well done to the modders. And I'd like to see what these guys come up with next, because if this is this good, I'd like to see, I don't know, what other cars, what car would I like to see? If they're doing cars like this, I'd like to see a classic car. I don't know, maybe another older classic rally car style. You never know, something like that. You know, I'm not too certain. I think I'm about to crash again. No, not just yet. Yep, there I go off, but I'm still on. So you can see here now, I have got this slight amount of counter steering going on around these corners, just ever so slightly. There I go. Now I'm gone again. Thing is, I think I crashed the Alfa Romeo GTA there as well, but I don't know whether I showed you guys. That was when I was reviewing the Dream Pack originally. But yeah, 9.9 out of 10. It's a fantastic car, well worth a download. Download links will be in the description box below. And yeah, let me know in the comments box when you download this car what you think of it, and let me know what other cars or tracks or, you know, things that you want me to test and try out. I don't even mind having a look at some skins. If there's some fantastic skins for a car, just having a quick look and doing short videos on that, I don't mind doing that. So just let me know in the comments box, and I'll see what I can do. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit the like button if you like this video, subscribe to our channel for more videos on Assetto Corsa, and leave a comment box in the comments box below. Download links will be in the description box, so make sure you do check that out, and make sure that you leave 5 stars on this car. You really do leave 5 stars in this car on Race Department. I hope to see you guys next week.